In this lesson plan overview, I'll show you how to use your assessment data to plan and execute an early guided reading lesson from start to finish. One of the most helpful assessments for analyzing early readers is a running record. These records capture the reading process and provide a wealth of information about decoding skills, fluency, and ability to retell. Once you've gathered this information, you can enter it onto an assessment summary chart that will help you select a focus for your lessons and form your guided reading groups. The book you choose will depend on your student's reading level and the focus strategy of the lesson. When choosing a text for early readers, it's important to have a story, one that supports your comprehension strategy. I'd also look for books with natural language that includes dialogue, pictures, and illustrations that support unfamiliar concepts and unknown words for students to problem solve. For readers at the start of the early stage, the lesson begins with a brief written review of sight words you have taught during previous guided reading lessons.
Okay, boys and girls, go ahead and write the word look. That's a word you know.
After students develop a large bank of known words, this part of the lesson can be eliminated. It often occurs around text level E. Keep track of the student's progress on the high-frequency word chart so you'll know how they're progressing and which words to teach next. After the sight word review, introduce the guided reading book by providing a short gist statement.
Today you're going to read a story called A Hungry Puppy. And this is about a little puppy who is so hungry and she's trying to get some food to eat.
Then, guide students to construct the meaning of the story by discussing the pictures. This preview supports comprehension and the use of strategies.
So what I'm going to have you do is you're going to actually talk to me about the pictures.
At lower text levels, you'll want students to take turns talking about every picture.
Could give them some food.
Gradually, release your support so that students become more independent. They can discuss the pictures with a partner or silently preview the book on their own. At this stage, you won't need to discuss every page, but you'll still want to introduce any new vocabulary.
I have just one word I wanted to introduce to you, and that's the word who. Because you're going to see that on page 4 when the wolf is asking Little Red Riding Hood, who are you? And I'm not sure that was a word that you have seen before. So let me just show it to you right here.
Children are now ready to read independently while you observe, prompt, and teach. With early readers, you will commonly work on decoding strategies because decoding is their greatest challenge. However, individual needs will vary. This portion of the lesson gives you an opportunity to have short interactions with each student and differentiate your instruction.
Let's look back and see what would make sense. Read that again.
Little red cat on the door.
Check your picture. What do you think Little Red did when she... Yeah, so what does it mean when it says she tapped on the door? Very good, exactly. Good.
Prompts to use with early readers fall under 4 broad categories: monitor for meaning, decode unfamiliar words, read with fluency, and increase comprehension. But the main emphasis should always be rereading the text to be sure it makes sense.
Help me to see you, said the big bad wolf.
Did that make sense? Big ears help me to see you.
No,
Oh, so what do you need to do?
so big. Sound it out.
Well, let's go back and think what would make
Ears
sense.
help me to
So what would help her see? What helps you see? Your
eyes.
eyes. So could this be ears or eyes?
Eyes.
Good, try that again.
After students read for about 10 minutes, select 1 or 2 examples from the story and spend a few minutes teaching word-solving strategies, fluency, or comprehension.
When you're reading, boys and girls, and you're not sure, maybe you've never seen this word before, what could you do to help yourself, though, if you don't know?
Look the picture.
Look at the picture, and what was that little puppy doing in the picture? Crying. But let's see, could this be the little puppy crying? No, it can't be crying. So then we're thinking, well, what would make it look right? Cried. Excellent. So I want you to think about your story and make sure that it looks right.
Day 1 teaching points are usually focused on word-solving strategies. On day 2, when students reread or finish the book, it makes sense to focus on fluency and comprehension. One way to improve fluency is to read dialogue with expression.
So when we talk like Red Riding Hood, we're going to talk like a little girl. But when we talk like the wolf, we're going to talk like a bad wolf. Can you do that for me? Let's read this together, okay? On page 5. I'm Little Red Riding Hood, and I'm taking food to Grandma, said Little Red. The big bad wolf said, are you ready? That's nice, but give Grandma some flowers. Grandmas like flowers. So sometimes it helps when you're reading to sound like the character is talking.
We are always looking for ways to reinforce comprehension. So, conclude the day's reading with a discussion question about the story, one that requires students to recall important information, make inferences, or draw conclusions.
Why did they change their mind? And why did they decide to give the little puppy their food, some food?
Because they're trying to be nice.
Because she was hungry. They were trying to be nice. Mayrani, another idea? Remember, what did the puppy do when he didn't get the food?
He cried.
Next, the books are put away and the focus turns to word study. Select a new sight word that students have just encountered in the book. During this component of the lesson, gradually release your support until the students can write the word independently.
Finger right and say it, please. Say went. Write it with your finger. Went.
Keep track of student progress on the high-frequency word chart. Once they are reading above level E and have learned 50 to 60 high-frequency sight words, you can skip this portion of the lesson. Day 1 ends with a word study activity. It can be tricky selecting an activity that matches students' decoding and phonics needs. Use the notes from the lesson and writing samples to select the focus. Then, refer to the summary of skill focus and word study activities chart to identify quick yet effective activities to teach that skill. Generally, readers at the beginning of the early stage need to develop their phonemic awareness skills for blends and vowels. This is best taught with picture sorts, making words, and sound boxes.
You're going to change one letter to make it say bash. Check it carefully to see what you're going to change.
Once students are reading at level G, you can teach the silent E rule and vowel patterns with the use of analogy charts. Jot a few notes about how students performed during the word study. If you had to provide a lot of support, you will want to continue the skill focus during your next guided reading lesson. On the other hand, if students demonstrated independence with the skill, select a different focus for your next lesson. Day 2 of the guided reading lesson follows the same procedures as day 1, except that instead of concluding with a word study component, the last 8 to 10 minutes of the lesson are devoted to guided writing. Writing helps students apply phonetic principles you have taught during word study. If students are having trouble applying phonics skills during guided writing, have them say each word as they write it.
Good.
For students reading at levels D and E, dictate a sentence that includes the new sight word you taught them and other familiar sight words. Also, include unfamiliar words to challenge students to use phonics strategies you have taught them.
So the first sentence you're going to write is the puppy went to get some food. Say that for me. A puppy went to get some food. Again.
The puppy went to get some food.
Good.
Students reading above level E are usually ready to construct their own sentences. Guide them to craft a response to the book they read.
Okay, girls, what you're going to do now is you're going to be writing your beginning, middle, and end. And I know you've done that before, so you're going to think about something that happened at the beginning of the story, something that happened in the middle, and something that happened at the end.
During the writing portion of the lesson, you'll have an opportunity to use different teaching points with each student to meet their individual needs.
I want you to go back and read your sentence for me and see if there's another place where you need to put a period.
The writing journals provide a window into your students' strengths and difficulties. This information, along with the notes you've taken, will help you plan your next guided reading lesson.